Thank you very much for staying with us. President Cyril Ramaphosa says the local economy has been starved of its potential. He says government remains committed to collaborating with business, labour unions and other social partners to advance the structural reforms necessary for fostering inclusive economic growth and creating jobs. Ramaphosa says government will set up a transformation fund worth 20 billion rand a year for the next 5 years to fund black-owned and small business enterprises. He says women-owned businesses will be given an opportunity to compete for government tenders.
We will fast-track the regulations of the Public Procurement Act to ensure that businesses that are owned by women, by young people and persons with disabilities receive equitable opportunities in government contracts. And we have started and will continue to train women entrepreneurs to enable them to compete for government tenders. In November last year, we launched the National Skills Fund Disabilities Program. In its first phase, this transformative initiative will empower over 10,000 persons with disabilities through tailoring training for them and through ensuring that they get stipends and specialized tools. This part of the work we must undertake as business, as government and labor and civil society to enable people with disabilities to play an important role in the economy of our country. For far too long, they've been relegated to the back rooms of everything. Through these programs, we are not only righting a grave historical wrong, we are unleashing the potential of our economy for sustained growth.
All right, we'll be joined in just a bit there by Ann Bernstein just to unpack the president's address. Quite a lot stated by the president, and as we've indicated throughout the day, mixed reviews, some applauding or lauding the president for that maiden speech under the government of national unity, but others, of course, quite critical of the president. I believe that Ann Bernstein is now ready to speak to us. She's Executive Director at the Centre for Development and Enterprise. Good evening, Ann. Thank you very much for joining us on the programme. A highly anticipated address meant to give clarity on the GNU's priorities for the next 12 months. What did you make of it?
Well, a lot to say. Thank you and good evening. Look, there were some important new policy directions, particularly on a new housing policy, on local government, and they all point in the right direction. Overall, I would say, though, that the speech lacked sufficient urgency when you think about South Africa's situation, and a lot of too much vagueness. You know, we're going to spend this amount of money, we're intending to raise it, it's very hard to work out on infrastructure or other things exactly what's going on or what progress has been made from the year before. Now, this is a GNU State of the Nation, and I was hoping it would be a bit bolder on the kinds of changes the country needs in order to get the growth the president says he's committed to. I was also concerned about, let's say, the muted sort of statements about corruption, which is still rife throughout the state and the private sector and desperately needs to be acted upon. So overall, I wasn't very happy with a number of things, although there were some positive things announced, but much too long-term. Too little focus on immediate actions that could change the environment for investors and growth.
You say, or at least from what I'm getting from you, is that it was very surface level, that there was no greater detail with some of these things, that if you're talking about the 100 billion that will be unlocked for infrastructure, there was no further detail beyond that. But also, we heard of the reforms that are needed around the funding model for municipalities, but there was nothing said beyond that, and even that there would be greater support for some of these struggling municipalities.
Well, for example, if the president had said in the budget in 2 weeks' time we intend to ring-fence the money we send to municipalities for water and electricity, that would have been dramatic. Now, they might still announce that. That would be an immediate action, but I don't think they're ready. I think it's going to take time still. It's going to, who knows how long it's going to take. So this sounds like a promising direction.
But what did you make of, at least insofar as the medium-term development plan? He stated that they could achieve their objectives by, firstly, strengthening the role of the Public Service Commission here, insofar as the appointment of public officials, that it starts with the kind of deployments they make to government.
This is great. This is a reform we know that has been on the go. From all that I know about it, it sounds like a positive initiative. What we were arguing for in July last year already was we were saying you have to take immediate action. There are people at the very top of the civil service or state institutions who there but are not the best people in the country for the job. So you've got to look at, say, mission-critical jobs, about 120 we could identify, and you've got to have an immediate process to see if we can get the best possible people into those positions. So that would be an example of a longer-term reform that's sort of wandering its way through the system and that looks positive in general. I would support it.
But wouldn't there be legal implications? Pardon me for interjecting there, because what I'm getting from you is that beyond just stating that you want to strengthen the Public Service Commission here, that going forward we must manage or scrutinize the process of who is appointed to government. You're saying there are those that are currently still there. What must happen with them because they hold these key positions? But that would have legal implications insofar as labor law is concerned. Are you saying that perhaps he needed to be decisive and say there must be a process now to work out of the system those that are not fit for purpose, perhaps?
Absolutely. South Africa's got lots of excellent lawyers. We commissioned a very sort of senior law firm. They told us how you could do it legally. It's quite possible to do without a major amendment. So if you want to do it, you'll find a way. But what we're doing is we're pretending we have lots and lots of time and we're going to slowly reform. And that isn't fast enough for the situation the country's in.
Now, the president made a point to speak on the global political climate that sovereign states are having to navigate now. The rise of nationalism and protectionism, a wave that we've actually been seeing sweeping across Europe for some time now. But it seems in this instance, though, he was referring to the Donald Trump administration, which seemingly has taken a hardline approach when it comes to South Africa. The president is committed to send an envoy to address some of the issues with South Africa insofar as the United States is concerned. What is your take on that?
Well, I would say two things. I was in America, in Washington in December, so I got a feel of the temperature from the Republicans. I think the president missed a big opportunity last night. Donald Trump and Elon Musk have stopped funding for PEPFAR, which South Africa has benefited from for some 15 years. I would have said something like this. I would have said for the last 15 years, we have been the incredibly fortunate recipients of it's hundreds of millions per annum of aid from America to help with HIV. And this is what we've done with it. We've helped rural people. We've helped, women. We've helped people all over our country, South Africans, to deal with this terrible disease. And we are incredibly grateful for the money that we have received. So I would have advertised what we've done with it, how well it's been managed, what an enormous impact it's had in South Africa. You would have sent a big signal of how grateful the country is. This is aid. They don't have to give us this money. We're incredibly fortunate that George W. Bush instituted this and we got this money. There's no obligation to give this to us, so we could have thanked the American people, the government, the Congress of America for doing this.
But some would say that would be tantamount to South Africa begging Some are saying
No.
that would be tantamount to South Africa begging, because in this instance, it seems that the heart of it is the foreign policy here. So there are those that are saying, or at least applauding the president for the position that he has taken to say South Africa will not be bullied, will have to move together as one and united as a country, and understanding that we would consistently stick to the constitutional principles.
I'm in favor of sticking to our constitutional principles, but I'm saying that there is a new sheriff in town in the most powerful country in the world, and we depend on getting this aid. There's no obligation. We want trade with America. We want aid. I'm not in favor of begging bowls. I'm saying if we put the facts on the table, it would have sent a big signal in a different way. So this is obviously a complicated area. I think South Africa has to rethink its foreign policy. It is now, foreign policy has an enormous impact on our chances of economic growth. And from how we use our defense force to how we engage with our second largest trading partner in the world, who is volatile, and it's a whole new game, it's going to be really, really important. And we need to think hard and strategically about how to do that.
All right. Ann, thank you very much for your insights this evening. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. That is Ann Bernstein, Executive Director at the Centre for Development and Enterprise, speaking to us there. To this story now, the Communications Workers Union has warned that there's a huge possibility the South African Post Office may cease functioning at the end of this month.